Oh, so they get processed over there at the basement of a church down there, Methodist church down there. And so a lot of our glasses go down there for processing. So I just want you to know that. Okay, Peru, I want to let you know about this trip. It was interesting because so much involved the Lions Club over where we were. Okay, and go ahead. Let me show you next. Peru is, there's only one big city, and that's Lima, right here. That's the capital of Peru, and that's where all the flights go into is Lima. From there, people go everywhere. Now, where we actually went is, okay, next slide. In the Amazon jungle area, this is way up on the northeast, and it's called Iquitos. The Amazon River runs down here, and there are just tons of tributaries. Iquitos, I'll talk about in a minute. Okay, thanks. But let me show you that all the glasses that were processed, here we are in Detroit Airport. You see those red bags, they're just full of glasses. There's upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 pairs of glasses, 2,000 to 3,000 pairs of sunglasses. And we do desperately need all of them, okay? All right, and we arrived in Lima, and customs always give us a hassle. They stole some of our medications, glaucoma medications, antibiotics, but fortunately we took enough cartons of that, but they're just corrupt, airport people. I'm sorry to tell you that, but they are. And so we were detained for an hour and a half, processing everything, even the used glasses and everything. And so we got to our hotel somewhere around 1:45 in the morning. Okay. I just want you to know that these are all Ohio State grads, but they don't know how to spell OHIO. Very embarrassing. When I took the picture, I really didn't know. My wife said, that doesn't look like OHIO. I said, oh my God. Well, if you stand behind them, you can say OHIO. Okay. We had a little bit of time to explore Lima, but Lima still is doing a lot of excavating, and there are still this goes back to before the Inca nation. The Inca nation lasted for 400 to 500 years. But before that was all a pre-Columbian era, and they're still excavating things. I don't know what that is, but that's an excavation site. If you go to Lima, there's a plaza called Armed Forces Plaza or something, and that's where the president's is, and that's where all your ministries are. So we spent a little time there, and interestingly, I was more interested in medical services. Now, is that socialized medicine? I don't know. So I went over to the Ministry of Health and inquire about that. And of course they said, well, who are you? And I told them I was with a volunteer, but they wouldn't believe me, so they detained me for 22 minutes until they went on the computer, looked up who I was, and they thought I was sort of a spy or something. But interesting, I just wanted to know what kind of medical services are provided to people in the far reaches of Peru. Okay. So it's very nice. Across the way is the president's residential palace over there. Okay. The security is very pretty and very nice. And after we left there, we went back to our facilities, and this is the Lima Lions Club. Upwards of 200 people in the Lions Club there. I think that's the only Lions Club in the big city. However, they feeded us to a wonderful buffet, and most of these people were members of the club, of course. And we had a wonderful time. They gave us a wonderful reception, okay? Nighttime is horrible. Lima itself is, people who have any kind of money don't live in that town. Crime is horrible, but it's like New York City at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's honking and all that noise. We have no air conditioning, so we have to have the windows open. And the sounds of the city, pretty soon you get used to it and you fall asleep. So anyhow. Well, then early in the morning we had our breakfast. And by the way, you have coffee. The coffee's unusual. They put it in a little beaker, and it's like thick molasses. You take a spoonful of that molasses, put it in your cup, and pour hot water in there. That's your coffee. But anyhow, to get to Iquitos, it's landlocked. As I showed you where Iquitos was. It's a landlocked city of about 300,000 people. The only way you can get there is fly over the Andes Mountain. And this is January of that year. And in January, it's winter time, folks. Remember, it's completely opposite. January is winter here. It's summer over there, the monsoon season. But you'll still see snow caps on the mountain tops. And so we had to fly over them. If you wanted to go by any other means, you can't. As I showed you, it's jungle. There's no roads, no nothing. So you go by boat. It'll take you 7 days to get from Lima to Iquitos by boat. Okay. So as you see, there's our tributaries, but that's all these tributaries of the Amazon River. And so how in the world can you get to any of these places? But that's how it is. Okay. Now we landed by Peruvian Airlines there. It's like a blast furnace. It is hotter than the blazes. It's hot and humid. So it was nice to get off, but by now they wanted to get back on the plane. It was so hot. Okay. And the Lions Club people helped us out. Our luggage were processed. Okay. But I talked so much that my friend said, Ebahara, you're not going back with us. We're going to put you on an air-conditioned plane here. I said, really? I'll take a picture of that plane. I'm going on a private plane. Okay. And they had a huge welcoming sign. It says Club on the bottom, Club de Leones de Iquitos. It means Lions Club of Iquitos anyhow. But they were just wonderful, and I'll show you later what they have provided for us, okay? Now, Iquitos has 40 to 50,000 of these motorized, it's like a motorcycle with a thing, you know. They call them mosquitoes there. Why do they call them mosquitoes? If you see them rolling down the street, it sounds like a buzzing sound. It's just a buzzing sound, and so they call them mosquitoes. But that's the mode of travel. Now, if you look here, it's paved roads, but in most places there are no paved roads. All you get, and there's no windows, so to speak, in the buses or any transportation. What you're going to get is wind, dust, and sun. And I'll tell you later, the combination of things are deadly to the eyes. Okay. People if they live off of the tributary rivers, that's what they live in. And you'd be surprised that they float up with the rising water or float down. So it's very practical in a sense. You'll see that too. But these people live in all kinds of structures, okay? And they have to periodically rethatch everything, okay? I paid this guy, now there's solas, I think. There's 3 or 4 solas to $1. These are little coins. I paid him 2 solas, so he let me ride it around the block, and there people were looking at me. Who's that slant-eyed guy running around? But anyhow, that was fun. Okay. There's anybody here a meal called ceviche? Okay, ceviche is like a raw, everything raw, fish, raw, clams, raw, everything, all that meat. But they marinate it heavily with lime juice. The lime juice actually cooks what you're eating. Now think about it, you don't have to cook it. Pour lime juice, it'll cure it. And once in a while I would here for that, it was good. However, I made a horrible mistake. At 8:30 at night, we were finished about 7:30 with our work. I went to this restaurant, ate up on that, and my stomach gurgled all night long. I had the worst acid indigestion. So, okay, Again, a mode of transportation. If you look at the way the seats are lined, those guys are smart because by the time we got to the end of the transportation, the coins that were in our pockets fell out and they collected all the extra money. So these guys don't miss a trick. The average income of these people were something like $2.72 a day. So that's really poverty. But there's all kinds of people. The majority of these people who live there are mestizos. Mestizo means they're mixed blood. They could be Portuguese, Spanish, whatever, Inca. But anyhow, this city of Iquitos was founded years ago on some people exploited that area for rubber. Remember before we got the more synthetic rubber, it was Vulcan, is that right? Vulcan?
Vulcanized.
And so all that trees they tapped would go down the Amazon River to Brazil and then come to America. So, but once that was exploited, the new synthetic tire rubber was gone. That industry went kaput. You'll see the remnants of estates of people who made tons of money there. Then came the oil, discovery of oil. So literally, a lot of this land is laid to waste. They then chopped down all the mahogany trees because that was in demand. Okay, enough. But people live in those ramshack things. They really don't know much about agriculture, and so they will grow sugar cane, and then after two years, the land is useless. All the nutrients are gone, and there's tons of erosion. So all the rivers are muddy. Okay. Here it is. The water can rise to over 12 feet, so you have to build them pretty high. You notice seasonally. Okay. People live in these ramshack places. It is just horrible. Yet you see people dressed fairly nicely. I just want you to point this out to you. But these are the homes all down the main drag. Okay. Poverty everywhere. Okay. Now we're at the Lions Club facility. They have a nice facility. It's about 1.5 times the size of this room. And so that's where we set up our stations to do eye screening, exam, and everything else. Barbara is a surgical nurse who's on the team. She's from Delphos, Ohio, or somewhere down there. But she's our team leader, okay? And this is the president and the governor of the Lions Club in Iquitos, and they were telling us what to do. And so we spent considerable hours developing our stations where everybody should be to start all the screening, okay? And so we traveled back and forth from the old hotel. By the way, the old hotel we lived in was 1933 vintage. Guess what lived in that thing? Gigantic cockroaches and lizards galore. It was nice. I had companions in my room all night. Okay, we traveled that way, but what I noticed is that being unpaved, the dust and the sun and everything combines to irritate the heck out of your eyes. Coming and going. It was just bad. But imagine these people living under those conditions day in and day out, and I'll show you what happens. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, you notice that the people, there's a mixture of people. People, if you see, they're dressed reasonably well, but if they go see doctors, they will dress up to go see doctors. They will not come dressed any old way. It's the way the culture is. But the lines were formed for blocks. Every morning by 7:30, there would be upwards of 500 to 600 people lined up around the building, up down the block. Okay, very friendly. They were just as nice as can be. Never complained. Waiting in line, all those hot, humid days, but nonetheless, they were being taught how to cover one eye and tell us how the liver goes. Okay. There's Barbara teaching them. They're just screening to see how far their vision is Gone, okay. Registration, we want to know who they were and everything. Okay. Now, your glasses over in Pandora, Ohio are cleaned and checked out. I hate to tell you, but 2 out of every 3 pairs of glasses you get are thrown out. They're just not serviceable, or can we use them? And these people, I don't care how poor they are particular about the style. You can't just give them a 1940 glasses, you know. But they're all processed into all the powers and the women and the men's, and so that's the way we have it set up, okay? So that's where your glasses are. I don't know who that guy is next. Now, this doctor, this man is just screening to see, get an idea of where the vision is. I think Lions owns those kind of portable things down. Better stuff than this. Okay. And we have established stations, and they go from one place to another. For the older people, we see cataracts, then we have to put them back on the side, dilate their eyes so we can get a better look at the inside of the eyes. Okay. So it's very time consuming. I saw this kid with the sunglasses. With all of those problems in that environment, you would think they would wear protective eyewear, such as sunglasses. They don't. There are 2 reasons. Number one, the culture says if you can't look at the person in the eyes, don't trust that person. Number 2, they can't afford it. If you go to their markets, where like a flea market, it costs about $6 or $7, and they don't have $6, $7 to pay for it. We have to provide it. Okay. So here, now they've been checked by us. We decide what their prescription is. So the Wakeful, this guy was an engineer at NASA down in Houston, and we got volunteers from all walks of life, but he liked to dispense glasses, so we taught him what to do, and there he was. Watch these people. Okay. Remember, this is all Lions facility. Now, I tried desperately. My Spanish was reasonably good there, enough to explain to this woman that she's got dry eye problems, irritation from the wind and the dust, and trying to explain to these people. And you have to do one after another. I would see upwards of 70 to 75 people every day examining, so that's a lot. More normally in my office, I never see more than 14. 75 is a lot of people. Okay. Okay. All right. Now this woman, she said, I don't need anything. She said, I just want something to read the Bible. What happens down in countries in South America is that there's a tremendous movement in evangelical churches coming in. And so they're converting from the Catholic Church to the evangelical church. But they're all given Bibles, which they never had. And so all they want is something to read the Bible. Otherwise, if they don't have glasses, they stand out in the sun. If you do that, you can see reasonably well. But they want some glasses, so they're just tickle pink. And so I'm putting something in front and saying, can you see that? She says, see, okay. But we have to go through that. Okay. Children. Now, some of these kids I noticed are really from the original native people in the Amazon basin. Okay. Now, here's that disease. It's called pterygium. Pterygin. Pterygium. Pterygium is a growth of a vascular tissue that starts from the inner white side, starts with constant irritation, starts to grow across the eyeball. So what happens? It's like you trying to look through this eventually. You can't really see anything decent, but that's what it's going to look like. It deforms the eyeball, the fibrovascular tissue cuts across. Well, what's the solution once it develops to this point? Surgery. They take something like a scalpel thing and they start to remove this fibrovascular tissue. However, in that kind of environment, it doesn't do very much good because they're thrown right back into the environment with all the elements getting in their eyes. and the situation becomes worse. Now they're more blind than ever. So the answer is preventive care. And I'll talk about it briefly. Okay. So you can start on both sides. And so how many people have that? Well, every night I would go through all the exam records and determine how many people have this kind of thing. Well, invariably, 1 out of every 2 persons, 40 years to 50 years old, have this from the beginnings of it. 50 to 60, more. People past 60, I would say 71% of these people have significant pterygium that they were actually affected by it. Initially, the tissue is pulled like that, so it's like you don't have a nice round surface. You got a surface that's shaped like a football. Can you imagine that? So the thing called astigmatism is so great, we can't even prescribe glasses for it. We just didn't have the means to do it. Okay. These 2 people, I thought, gee, they look like my mom and dad, but anyhow, but they were, I questioned them, and they were from the tributary area, and they're all, these people, when we went to check their eyes, they're shorter. I'm a giant compared to these people. So apparently, my thinking is that they came across the Bering Straits from Asia, up by Alaska, folks, and it was connected. There wasn't water there. They came down, traversed all the way down the west coast, ended up in South America, and they didn't marry anybody but their own people. So they were all short. They all looked alike. And it was interesting that every now and then I would catch these people who would look completely different from the others in stature and looks. Okay. Again, they always were so nice and so friendly, and they never complained, but the lines would just go on and on from 7:15 in the morning on. Okay. A lot of kids. But these are the townsfolk folks. Again, they dressed reasonably well, but there were other people were just poverty stricken. Okay. Kids are always okay. This is my little room. It was 6 feet by 8 feet. So, a good thing I was little. But in my suitcase, all these cockroaches would be in there, and it was just a mess. I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and those lizards with their beady eyes would be looking at me every night. Okay. And it was so sweaty that I would take a shower with my scrubs and everything. It was no hot water, just cold water, but it was a joy to have some kind of shower. This man was a retired family doctor, MD, medical doctor from Cincinnati area, and he goes on these trips, he and his wife, every year after year. And he's pretty good at handling glasses. Okay. This Carolyn's father was a colleague of mine, and so she's a pharmacist in Chicago, but I just have to get a picture of her because I said, be sure you say hello to your father. He was my colleague, schoolmate, I should say. Okay. And these people, if they like you, they thumbs up. That means they really appreciate what you do. Our lunch was usually about 15 minutes. We had one slice of cheese between a bread cut in half and 15 minutes, and have maybe water or what they call Inca Cola, And I really couldn't eat much, so these kids will be hanging around and they fight over that half a bread. It's really bad. We came back. A little daylight was still on, and we came back, and they said, no, you can't go to your room. They fumigated it to kill the insects in there. So I went in and I said, can you show me what insecticide you used? And guess what it was? It's a stuff we banned here. It's called DDT. You know what they also, it's terrible. Remember we got rid of lead paint? Where do you think it went?
Yeah.
I mean, we did some bad things, folks. I hate to tell you, but those gallons of lead paint are still there. You know? Okay. They thought I was a comedian, Japanese comedian. Okay. Here's a girl. She's a native girl. Because there's a distinct look in the statue. They're short and distinct. And very interesting. Okay.
Roy, did you find any river blindness?
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of things. I also want to tell you, although we were taking care of eyes, what did we see? A lot of hair lips, lip palate, you know, teeth coming out of their lips. I mean, grotesque. But why is it? You guys know why? Why do you see so much of that? The reason basically is that they're confined in an area and they don't know that they're marrying and having children with first cousins. So they got 6 fingers. I mean, you see everything there. Fortunately, there's a doctor named Dr. Aravallo, right, in Fremont, Ohio. She was born and raised in Iquitos. Somehow went to Lima Medical School, came here, did a residency here, and she practices medicine there. She's a, pediatric surgeon. Every year in June, she goes there for 3 weeks and she operates on a whole lot of kids with hair lip palates. Wonderful woman. She asked me to go with her this June and take care of her eyes, but I said, no, I'm 82 and that's enough. Okay. There again, it's just mode of transportation. This is downtown Lima. Okay. And we went to the markets. I just want you to know, I think I mentioned to you that medicine as we know it today doesn't exist over there. It's only for the privileged few. Less than 10% of the people control the wealth in Iquitos. Okay? The rest are poor. I don't know how they could afford to drive those motorcycles around because the gasoline price when we left there was $7.59 a gallon or something. So I whatever. But anyhow, hold on. So we flew back after our mission, that 1 week over there. We flew back to Lima. Barbara said, how many of you guys want to go to Machu Picchu? Ever hear of Machu Picchu? Okay, it's the hidden, what they call the hidden city of the Incas, or lost city of the Incas. I said, yeah, we'll pay extra money, we'll go. So we flew over there in the southern part of Peru to a city called Cusco. Cusco is at 11,000 feet. So what we had to do was, in order to avoid altitude sickness, and you guys know you get headaches and you just don't feel good. We had to buy for $3, get a little packet of cocoa leaves. Illegal, but anyhow, you put it in your cheek and your gum, and they say it'll prevent altitude sickness. So I bought $3 worth of it. Felt good. Okay. So we traveled around the countryside on a bus once we reached Cusco, and I would see these poles at a slant with a red flag on the end. So I asked the bus driver, what does that mean? They said, oh, it's you can get beer there. So I said, oh, it's so hot, can we go and get some beer? And he said, well, we only have 10 minutes. He said, I said, we can slug down a pitcher of beer. So some of us, there were 7 of us on this little mini bus. So we went in, there was a stout woman there, and she welcomed us, bowed, and said, come in. And we sat around like a picnic table, and sat around, and she brought out pitchers of beer. Lukewarm, yellow, gooey looking thing. Tasted it, it was just as bad as it looked. So anyhow, the bus driver said, she is going to tell me, and I can tell you how. I said, how do you make the beer? They said, well, they make it with Inca corn. Inca white corn, the kernels are about 4 times bigger than our kernel corn. What they do is they mash that, you know, after it's dry so much, they mash it up and they add some water. And then in the fermentation process, the woman says, she goes, and I said, well, she's spitting there. He said, yes. They spit it there. I said, are you serious? So I went outside and went, ah. So that's called chicha. Chicha. I thought it was interesting. Okay. There's Inca corn. It's really a weird shape, but that's the traditional corn. Okay. And here, the woman boils some, and there's no butter, so you get goat cheese instead of butter to go with your corn. Screws there. Okay. There it is. It's an odd shape. I just want you to. That's regular corn. If you have money, you can buy things, but I have given away so much of my upwards of $200 to kids, blind people, and everybody that I didn't have enough money to buy my wife to bring me something back. They call me sucker with a big S. Okay. People in their traditional garbs be here and there. They're asking for 5 cents, 10 cents to get a picture. Okay. This is the sacred valley of the Incas. Beautiful. You know, you're looking down. That's the Urubamba River that runs to Machu Picchu. Runs down from the mountain and comes around. But it's all agricultural land, but it's called the Sacred Valley of the Incas on the way to Machu Picchu. Okay. And farming was done by terrace. All these terraces are not just for looks or for military reasons, but they were all terrace. The corn grew on the lower level because there was more access to water. And the other things that didn't require as much water was up there. Okay. So there it is, but when the conquistadors came after them, they utilized the highest point to protect themselves. Little did they know the conquistadors said, okay, you can stay up there until you starve to death and you'll come down. And that's what happened. They got starved to death. Okay. Amazing. This is Machu Picchu, but can you imagine? It lasted over 300 to 400 years, and in spite of the rain and everything, it never crumbled down, not anything. But how they hauled all those stones and rocks up there, beyond my imagination, but that's about 8,200 feet up there. You know? Okay. It's amazing. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world, folks. Okay. Look at that. Okay. The guardhouse up there. Okay. We did it right. That midget, that's me. These guys are all. That was my roommate, 6'5".
Oh, gee.
With the guy on the left over there. Okay. It's just simply amazing. They have no lawnmowers to take care of it. Guess what? You got llamas and alpacas to eat up all the grass. All right. It's just a sight. I wish you people could see it, but you know, it cost me with living at a hostelry and everything, and the airfare from Lima and back and forth, $159. Any tourist, you're paying thousands of dollars to go see Machu Picchu. So we were very blessed, fortunate. Okay, don't want to bore you anymore. But I just want you to know that it's a great country, but it's so far removed from Lima, the city. It's horrible. The history of Peru is just horrible. The conquistadors came, they took in the Inca king and then said, if you can fill up this room with all the gold and silver, we will let you go. No, they killed them, and they killed about 2,000 warriors. But also then the church came in, right? Church came to Lima, where it was Lima was not there until Francisco Pizarro was the conquistador, established Lima as the city where the Spaniards would build a city. But the inquisitors, or the Catholic Church, came in, and in less than, according to somebody told me, less than 30 days, they slaughtered over 120,000 people because they would not accept the Catholic faith. Sort of sad history. Okay, that's enough. Questions? Yes.
I was always told we weren't supposed to send sunglasses to Voss, but they do.
Well, we need sunglasses galore.
So we should be collecting sunglasses.
Absolutely.
Well.
Now, I came home. I just want you to know. Oh, let me just quickly, before I end this. You can have these.